back, folks, to the WP-Tonic Show. It's episode 412. We've got a fantastic guest. Really looking forward to the interview. And that's basically, we've got Billy Bross of Linchpin Media. Billy, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, Billy Bross. I grew up in Virginia. I currently live in Southern California, and I work with online courses. So I got my start selling beer brewing courses on the internet, of all things, teaching people how to brew beer at home and taste their beer, analyze it. And then just really found a passion for selling courses online, for online marketing, got really into copywriting. So that's what I do full time now. I work with online course creators to help them pour fuel on their fire and grow their business.
Yeah, and we thought Billy would be an excellent guest because he advises actual course entrepreneurs. So he knows all the mistakes, successes. He's got a lot of knowledge to share in this episode. And I've got my great new co-host, Adrian from Groundhog. Adrian, would you like to introduce yourself?
For sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Adrian. I am the CEO and founder of Groundhog. We develop marketing automation and sales tools for as plugins for people who use WordPress and run their businesses on WordPress. If you'd like to find more out about that, you can go to groundhog with 2 G's at the end.io or visit us at Groundhog WP on both Facebook and Twitter to find out more about how we can help you grow your business with marketing automation and sales tools for WordPress.
That's great. And before we go into the main discussion, folks, I want to tell you about one of our major sponsors, and that's Kinster Hosting. And what is Kinster? Kinster only specializes in WordPress hosting. They've been a major sponsor of the WP-Tonic Show for the last 2 years. Fantastic company. We host the WP-Tonic website with them as well. If you've got a membership site, a course site, e-commerce, anything that needs a real quality WordPress hosting environment, look at Kinster. They've got all the bells and whistles, staging site, latest versions of PHP. But the main thing is they use Google Cloud as their backbone, and what you get from Kinster is a superb interface and some of the best support on the market in 2019. I've been blown away with the quality of their support team, and they're just great people in general. So go over to kinster.com and find out something more, and Twitter out that you heard about them on the WP-Tonic Show. Right, Billy, so let's get into this. So what are some of the things, by working with all these entrepreneurs, are there some couple key mistakes which a lot of people looking to start a successful course need to know or they make before they come to you? Is there any kind of patterns that you've observed?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, probably the biggest one that I've noticed, and this is just a big warning for anyone who wants to get into creating online courses, because what some people, actually a lot of people, tend to do is have an idea for an online course, and then they sort of go into a cave for a few months, maybe a lot of months, and they don't really interact with their audience at all. They have this idea. It's really more like it's a hypothesis, right? My background is in science. And so you have this hypothesis that I'm going to create this course and that people are going to buy it. But really, that's the wrong way to go about it. You don't want to create a product and then go try to find customers for it. What I recommend you do instead is go find your market, find your customers, identify who they are, what their pain points are, what they want, what they've tried before, and really fall in love with your market. You want to be close to the people in your market because you need them in order to grow your business. They're not just numbers, they're people. And so learn about them, speak with them, talk to them on the phone, and then create products for your customers. So it's not finding customers for your products, it's finding products for your customers. It's a subtle shift, but it's a really, really powerful one. I just see a lot of people making that mistake. And I just hate to see people spend so much time, money, and effort creating a 12-module, giant, bloated course, and then they come and release it and say, hey, here it is. And no one wants to buy it because they were just off in their positioning of it.
Yeah, so true. Adrian?
I actually I resonate with that fact, or actually what you just said a lot. Sell first, build later. You go find out where those people are, and then you collect their email addresses or you do ever, which is actually a perfect segue into a lot of people are, at least a lot of the groups that I belong to on Facebook are like, is email still relevant? And they're asking these questions, do I need to build an email list, or are there any other tools that I need to be using? What is your take on the reliability or the effectiveness of building email lists, and how important is that in a course creator context?
Huge. It's huge. Yeah. I mean,
so it's not dead.
It is not dead. No, it is thriving, and it's better than ever. Yeah, and I run an email marketing program. I mean, I'm a big believer in email. And the reason is it's the most personal form of communication online that we have. I mean, you think about before we had the internet and how you communicated with someone across the country, you would write them a handwritten letter, right? You would send it in the mail. And email is the digital equivalent of that. And there can only be one. There has to be that digital equivalent of sending someone a letter, right? And so that's why email has stood the test of time. It's been around since, I think, the early 70s. And if you look at it, it really hasn't changed that much. They've tried to change it. What was the Google product that came out almost a decade ago? Google Wave. And they were trying to revolutionize email. You probably don't even know about it because it totally crashed and burned. But it's not owned by anyone. I mean, the email protocol, it's publicly available. That's why we have all these different email software programs like Gmail and Outlook and Hotmail and whatever. As opposed to something like Facebook, there's just one Facebook. There's just one Instagram. There's just one Snapchat. So, I've worked with a lot of very successful online courses, 6-figure, 7-figure online courses. And the one big thing that they all have in common is that they really know how to work their list.
Brilliant. Jonathan?
Yeah, so, I hear, I totally agree with you, Billy, but, it's a bit of a chicken and egg. How you got any insights, tips on how to build that list?
Yeah, so I really like the phrase, I forget who said it. I think it's Steve Blank. It's one of the lean startup guys. And so he was applying this to the SaaS world. Adrian, you might know this one. And he says, do things that don't scale. And I think that's a great way to start building your email list. A lot of people start the other way. They try to automate it so much and they'll start running Facebook ads and everything. But I think you got to get out there and take a really organic approach and just talk to people in your market. The way that I did that at first with my homebrewing website was going to homebrewing forums. I was in Facebook groups, and I would literally ask people. I would first deliver value, and I would maybe have a little chat with them, see what problems they were dealing with, see if I could give them some advice, and then say, hey, I have this awesome beer brewing newsletter. Can I add you to it? And they'd be like, sure, no problem. Absolutely. So that's where I would start, because that's going to give you the best feedback on what resonates with people. And then from there, you can start to automate. So then you can start to create your lead magnet and your funnel and start to drive traffic to a landing page, things like that. But my biggest tip is to do things that don't scale at first.
Go on, Adrian.
I actually was just about to say, that as a developer of software, which allows you to automate a lot of stuff, excuse me, one of the first things we tell people who actually onboard with our software is don't focus on automating everything right now all at once. Focus on your deliverables and how you can create value. And then as you move forward, you'll be able to step in and start automating some of your systems and processes. But just starting with whatever you've got, even if you have to manually log in somewhere and start posting on forums, will create so much more value in the long term and in the short term than spending significant amount of times on automating processes that nobody is currently in, right? You have to have the demand for it before you actually go and create it. So if you have to create that demand manually, then that's exactly what you have to go do.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's kind of a crude phrase, but it makes sense here. You don't want to polish a turd, right?
All right. On to the next question. So what the £800 gorilla in the course market is Udemy. So what are your thoughts about Udemy and how, if you were building a course, how would you use it in any shape or form?
It plays a role, and it's been a great thing for a lot of people. Overall, I'm not a huge fan. it's an online, for people who don't know, it's an online course marketplace. So it's sort of like the Amazon.com of online courses. And I just don't think it's very friendly towards the online course creator. Now, look, if you don't want to do online courses full time, if it's just sort of a side thing you want to do for fun, or maybe just a little bit of additional revenue, then go for it. But if it's your main thing, then I don't recommend really investing heavily in Udemy. And the reason is, for one, they discount your courses like crazy. So I was working with a client, and he has courses on machine learning. So computers that can learn things really quickly and improve themselves. And this is sort of like the precursor to artificial intelligence and a lot of things that are coming down the road. And yeah, there's some scary stuff there, but there's far more positive things that can come from this, like self-driving cars, a lot of applications in medicine. So it's a really important field, and there's not a whole lot of people teaching it. And he's one of the best. And he was selling a course on Udemy for, I believe it was $100. And then they discounted it to $10. And he had no say in that whatsoever. And then he was getting something like 10% of that. So maybe just a buck for every course that was sold. And I think it just really undervalues it. And so we helped him get over to a different platform, his own platform, raise the price and charge what he was worth. So I think that's the way to do it. I think that you should build on your own platform. The way that Udemy could factor into this is, if you're not sure if you want to do this or not, online courses, or if you're not really sure about your idea and you want to validate it really quickly, they do have a built-in audience. So that's the huge benefit of them. So you could get something out there, get feedback from the market, yes or no, do they like it or not? But once you get that feedback, then I would start to put together your escape plan and do something on your own platform.
Yeah, I think you're so spot on there, because the main thing they've got is they've got an audience, haven't they? So if you want to quantify, if you hadn't built up that email list, and you wanted to just try a small course just to see if there was an audience and to get feedback, it might be something to consider. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it can be a great place to do market testing. Yeah, but again, I would begin with the end in mind, though.
Yeah, you got to actually be thinking of your exit almost at the start of your engagement, haven't you?
Right. Yeah. Well, another thing too is you got to think about your brand, and if you're surrounded, if your goal is to sell a premium course one day, and your brand is showing up on Udemy, surrounded by all these other courses that with a red line slashed through them, discounted by 90%, selling for $3 or $5. That brings down the value of your brand too. So that's a consideration.
Yeah, you got a point there. It's a little bit tricky. All right then, folks, we're going to go for our break. We'll be back. We'll be discussing more with Billy, this fascinating world of course entrepreneurship. We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. Been put straight about Udemy. Been put in my place. I'm used to it, folks, listeners. Adrian, over to you.
I just actually, before I ask the next question, I wanted to tack on to the end of the Udemy conversation. What I've noticed, I'm not personally a course creator, but I have witnessed other course creators. If they have several tiers of courses, they have kind of their mid-tier and their high-ticket sales courses. Sometimes what they do is they take their most bottom tier course and they'll put that on Lynda or Udemy. What are your thoughts on selling your bottom, kind of your low ticket offer on those platforms, and then trying to move them over to your other platform where your high tickets are?
You can do that. People have certainly done that successfully. The challenge with that is that you don't get the email list. And that's something that I didn't mention before, but it's a huge, huge drawback of Udemy, is that you don't get that customer list. They keep that. And there are some tactics, there's some ways you can do that and try to move people over to your own site. So that's a big drawback of it. But yeah, if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna have courses on Udemy and also your own platform, I think that's a smart strategy. Have your lower tier ones and then make it clear, that this is the lower tier. And if you want the premium stuff, you got to come to the main platform.
Right. All right. Thank you for clarifying for that. And now an actual question. So a lot of people feel that the course market is getting very saturated. There's lots of people every day entering into the course market, and we have these behemoths, Udemy and Lynda. So how do you Or what is a strategy that course creators can use to differentiate themselves from the noise and really make their brand and their content stand out?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you think about what advantage you do have then. Because an example is if you're going to go up against Walmart, you're in retail, you're not going to beat them by being the low priced option, right? Like there's just no way to beat Walmart on that battlefield. And so you don't want to compete against Udemy on their battlefield. So what do they have that's a drawback? Well, it's not very personal. It's not very human. And so that's a big thing that I tell my clients is let your personality shine through. What is unique about your business? Well, you are. And people want to do business, your students, they want to do business with a person. I mean, that's why influencers are so popular these days and brands are pouring so much money into influencers because people would rather buy from an influencer or through an influencer versus through a brand versus through, they don't want to buy from Tide. They want to buy from the influencer who uses Tide on their clothes, right? So if you're a course creator, you don't want to, if you're trying to hide behind a company name or brand name for yourself or a logo or something, I think you're really handicapping yourself. And so this even plays into the email discussion too, that the types of emails that I recommend people send and that I teach are very personality driven. So we're sharing little quirks about ourselves. We're sharing our vulnerabilities, the things that we like, our pets, our history, telling our story. And that gives you really an unfair advantage against the big behemoths like the Lindas and the Udemys.
Thank you. Just a follow-up question to that. Is it easy to scale when you're that involved in the business, or what are some tips that you have for when you're trying to scale with that personality? Because if it's so focused on you, are there strategies and ways to make that kind of, as you scale up and you hire employees, are there ways to keep that personality in it?
Yeah, well, you look at some of the bigger ones out there, some of the larger online courses. Take someone like a Stu McLaren. Do you guys know who he is?
I'm not familiar.
No.
He's from your neck of the woods, actually. I think he's from Toronto. Tribe. He teaches membership sites, and so that's he's got a significant size, 7, maybe 8-figure company, but he's still the personality behind it. He's still the voice behind it, and I think that's really important. I think that's one of the last things that you delegate or you outsource, if you ever do. So if you're looking at scaling. And the objection or the question that you raised is, how do you scale that when you're the face of the business? Because it just becomes too time consuming. I think there are a lot of lower level things that you can outsource and delegate before handing that over to someone else or trying to automate that more. Like for me, I got a personal assistant, an executive assistant about almost a year ago now, and it just freed up so much time. And so there's a lot of low-hanging fruit like that you can automate before going that other direction, outsourcing your voice, the personality.
Brilliant. Thank you. Jonathan?
Well, we're in the second half of 2019, Billy. I don't know where the first half went. It just seemed to go poof. How do you see the course market this year? Do you think is there still a lot more growth, or is it plateaued? And are there any trends that you observed that the entrepreneurs that you're working with that you like to share with our audience?
Yeah, so the courses have to get better. So there were, when this thing first started and online courses started taking off in popularity, you had a lot of people just kind of phoning it in just because it was so easy to make an online course. I mean, I remember it was a course I was doing pretty well financially, and the course was really just a zip file that they would email to their students. They would download to their computer, and it was a pretty poor user experience. And you look at course creation or course completion rates, and they're really dismal. They're around 3%. So, it's survival of the fittest, right? So the really good online courses, the ones that provide the best user experience, the ones that get their students the best results, the cream always rises to the top. And so if you're getting into this, you really have to step up your game. And what we're seeing is a lot more involvement from the teachers in the course in a live environment. When I say live, I mean not IRL, not in real life, right? Like doing calls, Zoom calls, things like that. More like a traditional school, right? You don't just hand someone the textbook. and then say, okay, see, at the end of the semester, you have the teacher teach to the textbook. So it's not just, hey, welcome to my online course, good luck. We're seeing a lot more live coaching calls and interactions, Facebook groups and things like that to ensure that the students are completing the course, for one, and to getting the results that were promised in the course.
Yeah, thanks for that. So a follow-through question. Fundamentally, I'm trying to find the right word here. They're becoming micro educational establishments in a way, virtual communities, kind of unofficial institute. I was going to use the word. I'm struggling for the right words. Is that making any sense at all, Billy?
I think I see where you're going. Yeah. So I'm a big believer in online courses for the future of education. And I call them independent course creators, or indie course creators, these experts who build on their own platform, and they're building these online schools, institutions. It's kind of like an independent record label, right? You have these indie artists. And so I think that there's a big opportunity for them, as opposed to traditional education, which is not doing so well right now. And I think that there's always going to be a place for that. If you want to become a doctor, you're not going to take an online course. You got to go to med school. But for these independent course creators, I mean, with the machine learning guy, so his students can go through the course and say, hey, this was great, but this new technology just came out. Can you put something together on this? And he can have that the next day. He can have a new lesson in their course area the very next day. And now they're moving ahead. They're getting better. They're getting smarter. They're getting faster at doing this, putting out better products. Whereas a traditional university, I mean, they are not going to iterate that quickly. How long is it going to take them to update their curriculum? So they just can't keep up. And that's why I'm so bullish on online courses.
That's fantastic. Over to you, Adrian.
So we were talking about Udemy and Lynda, and those are some of the platforms that people can go to host their first online course. But once they have a course, they have their market, they have and they know the content they want to produce. Where do they go? What's the technology that they use in order to be able to share that? What tech stack would you recommend for people to start hosting their courses and being able to share those with the world?
So if they're hosted on Udemy or Lynda for the online course side of things, for the fulfillment side?
No, I mean, so what do you, for example, you use for your clients to actually share their courses? Is it Teachable? Is it another site? Is it WordPress? What is it that you use to share courses with the world?
So if you're talking about where the actual lessons are hosted and all that, there's a number of, if we're talking about platforms that you own, so if it's not a Lynda or a Udemy, there's a number of them. So I'm a big fan of Teachable. I got involved with them back in the day when they were called Fedora originally. They're now Teachable, and they have it's a great piece of software, and they're not a marketplace, so you're not going to see any courses advertised on their homepage or anything. They're just software. Thinkific is another one. LearnDash is another one. I believe that's a WordPress plugin. Yeah. So you can do something kind of custom on WordPress, and that's not a bad way to go either. So there's a bunch of them these days. And so that's on the fulfillment side. That's delivering the course. And then you have these other pieces of software that you need. Like I recommend a landing page builder because capturing email addresses is so important. So something like Lead Pages or Instapage or ClickFunnels. You have your email software itself. So ConvertKit, there's a number of these. ConvertKit, Aweber, Drip. I'm a big fan of Entreport. So that would be a really good stack. So you have the online course delivery, might be something like a Teachable or a Thinkific. You have the email software, might be something like Drip or Entreport. And then you have a landing page builder, maybe something like a Lead Pages.
Brilliant. So there, excuse me. So there you go. That's the tech stack for anybody who's interested. Jonathan?
Well, it's really interesting as you went through that, because you've got these different elements, or you got something like Kajabi where they say in one platform you can do all these separate, they provide all these separate tools, or ClickFunnels to some extent. But then you got the whole world of WordPress, haven't you? And the integration of the reason why I like WordPress is that you can take the best of the WordPress ecosystem, you know, the best affiliate plugin, the best landing page builder. And I honestly believe, Billy, now in 2019, you can build something as powerful as you can get with ClickFunnels or Kajabi, but still have the best of breed. So there's no element in that stack that's not been looked at consistently and made sure that it is the best of breed. Now, so we've covered a lot of territory. So if you were starting out building a course, and it was your first course, what size would it be? And what would be your first steps in investigating what that initial course should be about? How would you get the blueprint to build that first course, and how big would that course be?
Good question. Yeah. So I'm a big believer in doing a lot of research up front. When I left my full-time job, so I got my MBA and I was working in the renewable energy industry for about 7 years. And then I went to sell online courses thinking that my business degree would really, really help with that. But it turns out it doesn't really lend itself to selling beer brewing courses on the internet. So I had to learn how to sell things online. And what I learned was copywriting. I studied under a really great copywriting mentor for a year. And he taught me that 80% of copywriting is research. And so that's how I would start. I would pick a field, but then just go listen. Go listen and go talk to people. So go on Twitter, go into Facebook groups, go into forums, and see what people are struggling with. And then I would start to collect those email addresses and start to frequently email them, delivering content, seeing what resonates. And then once you do that, you should get an idea of the common pain points there and what people are struggling with. And then a key thing is, with online courses, you don't want to provide information, you want to provide transformation. So you want to think about what the end outcome is. What do those people want at the end of the day? Because no one buys a hammer because they want a hammer. They buy a hammer because they want to put a nail in the wall and then hang a picture on it that they can look at when they walk by it. So I would look at what that end outcome is and then put together the 4 major milestones, 4 to 8 major milestones that they need to get to in order to get to that end outcome. And then what I would do is, I'll tell you what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't go into the cave and have a fancy studio and work on pre-recording videos and all that. I would take it through them live. I would have a cohort go through 4 to 8 week course, maybe a little bit longer if it's a more involved topic. And to do it really organically, I would have a beta, pre-sell it up front, tell them that this is going to be the best deal, the lowest price it's ever going to be, and they're going to get the most attention they're ever going to get, and then bring them through it. But don't try to plan it too much. Make it really organic, get feedback, and then iterate on the fly. So if you're in week 2 and people tell you and something comes up, a question comes up, you might change your week 3 because of that. So don't, be very open-minded about it.
Oh, I thought that was a fantastic answer. Thanks so much. Hopefully Billy's going to stay on with us. We're going to wrap up the podcast part of the show, folks, but Billy's agreed to stay on. Hopefully he is going to. And we were asking him some more questions, and I've got a question about YouTube, and the discussion goes on. And if you want to see our interviews and other content the quickest, it's best to subscribe to the WP-Tonic YouTube channel, because we've got new materials planned in the next coming months, and it's the quickest platform where we publish the interviews on the show on our YouTube channel. Also, if you really want to support the show, go to iTunes and give us a review. It really does help the show a tremendous amount. So, Billy, how can people find out more about you, what you're up to, and basically your great thoughts?
Sure. Yeah, well, the website is linchpin.media. It's one of those new fancy ones without the .com. And then I'm very active on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, go ahead and friend me, Billy Bross, BROSS. And then I also have a great free Facebook group called the 20-Minute Email Challenge. So you can type that into the Facebook search bar and it'll come up. And we have a cool challenge for email marketing. And I talk a lot about copywriting and marketing strategy for online courses.
Oh, I think I'll join that myself. Adrian, how can people find out more about you and your company and what you're up to?
I think I'm gonna go join that challenge as well. I think it'll be interesting, as email marketing is my business. Speaking of which, if you're looking to collect email addresses and send those emails that are ever so important, as Billy has mentioned several times throughout this show, you can use Groundhog, the Groundhog marketing automation plugin for WordPress to do exactly that. If you're looking for more information on that, you can go to Groundhog with 2 G's at the end.io, or you can reach out to us on Facebook, where we are also extremely active at Groundhog WP on both Facebook and Twitter.
That's great. And if you want to find out more about WP-Tonic, go to the WP-Tonic website. We've got a load of posts about a lot of subjects concerning if you're an e-learning or want to become an e-learning entrepreneur and you want to know about video, sound equipment. The topics are endless, what I've written about on the WP-Tonic website. We'll see you next week, where we have another fantastic guest like Billy, hopefully giving you insight about how to make your course a true success and get the lifestyle that you're looking for. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye. So on to bonus content. So YouTube, how do you see this fitting into marketing for the e-learning entrepreneur? You know, I spend most of my time, you know, if I want to learn something, I normally go to YouTube and I put it in and I do a little bit of a hunt. And then I've actually, through YouTube, joined other people's courses because, you know, it's given me insight and I thought they actually knew what they were talking about. So how has YouTube changed the environment, and how would you advise the e-learning entrepreneur to use it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and that's one of the big...
I do have the odd one, see, Billy.
What's that?
I have the odd good question.
Every now and then, huh? So that's one of the big mistakes that I made, is that I should have invested more heavily in YouTube when I first started my beer brewing site, because that was around 2008 or 9 when YouTube was just getting started. And I did videos, but I always hosted them on my own website. I used a WordPress plugin for that, you know, which has its benefits. It has some SEO benefits, but man, I could have reached so many more people if I had invested more in YouTube. So I think it's a phenomenal platform. It's a great way to reach new people, to drive traffic. I think that everyone should have at least one organic traffic source. So I'm a big believer in paid traffic, but I think that you should have at least one organic traffic source. And what I did was, mine was blogging. So if you're not a video person, you don't have to do YouTube. Everyone says you gotta do YouTube, you gotta do YouTube. No, you know, if you're more of a writer and if your audience prefers to read content, I think written content is actually undervalued these days. I think we've kind of gone too far in the other direction, where we're just like, hey, video is everything. There's still a lot of people, including myself, who would rather read a blog post than watch a YouTube video. You know? So figure out what your market likes to consume, how they like to consume content, what you're good at. And YouTube is a great option for a ton of people, because it's, what is it, like the second biggest search engine in the world behind Google itself? Yeah.
So would you actually advise people to, you know, we, in the podcast part of the show, we talked about Udemy. Would you be actually more encouraging for somebody to actually build content on YouTube then, rather than Udemy, and use that as a kind of driver to their superior content and course on their website? Is that a more of a strategy that you would be more happier with?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to do it. Yeah, so a really good funnel is a great YouTube channel with great YouTube videos, and then below those YouTube videos, linking to what I call a squeeze page, an email opt-in page, landing page. So a YouTube video to an email opt-in page. And some of those videos, you know, when they really take off, they can drive a lot of traffic to your website and grow your email lists like crazy. So that's a really good funnel you can build.
The reason why, before I throw it over to Adrian, is the reason why I bring it up. I've got a friend called Adam, and he has a channel called WP Crafter, and he has about 120,000 followers, subscribers on the channel. And basically he's built a really successful business by using, it's about WordPress, basically about all things WordPress and some other technology subjects, and he drives these people to his website, and they join a course, and basically he uses affiliate marketing to generate income, and he's very successful at it. So they get, for them to utilize the affiliate link, he offers training, video training as a bonus inducement to use his affiliate link, and it's been highly successful. So there's ways of using it. Over to you, Adrian.
So before we end off, I just, out of my own sheer morbid curiosity, we had talked just before we had started about some of the new interesting projects that you're working on in the e-learning space, and you had mentioned something about a flying car race. A little bit of entertainment value here. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so there's this great group I'm involved with here in LA with just a bunch of super smart people, scientists, inventors, entrepreneurs, musicians, people way smarter than myself. And this one guy who I really hit it off with because I'm very big into aviation and hope to get my pilot's license one day. His name is Dejer Molnar, and he's the flying car guy. He's built flying cars. They look more like, they're like gyrocopters, helicopters, that sort of thing. It's not like quite George Jetson yet, but his goal is to get there. And so you can check out the website. It's flyingcarracing.com. And what we're doing is starting this race out in the desert in southeastern California. And it's going to be a race from there to, I believe, Las Vegas. And there's all different leagues and everything. And so that's our next big project. We have to build the air traffic control tower for the flying car race. It's a crazy.
That's pretty cool. Is that related in any way to a Course Creator, or is that just like a fun, really side project for you?
Not related whatsoever.
Not related whatsoever. Just super fun.
Yeah. You asked me what projects I was involved in.
And of course, it ends up in Las Vegas. It would have to, wouldn't it?
Well, at one point, should we expect a course about how to run your own flying car race?
I think so, yeah. Or how to fly one.
Or how to fly one. Brilliant. Thank you.
There's a lot on the line with that.
Right, thanks, Billy. It's been a joy interviewing you. You have to come back later on in the year and discuss this crazy world of course, entrepreneurship. We will be back next week, folks, with another great guest. We'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.